What is going on, y'all? It's your man Mike Titan, the gaming savant, here with my co-host Bryan Greer, and today on the episode of Blitz, Cowboys fans rejoice. Dez is finally officially a Cowboy. We don't have to worry about him skipping out on training camp. Don't have to worry about franchise tagging him and making him not play up to his potential. Today, Dez signed this contract. Bryan Greer, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing a lot better. I'm sure you are too. I heard that you were on a hunger strike, and I know I haven't seen you in a while, so I'm glad to see that you're still alive, and I'm pretty sure you're happy to even be able to eat again.
You can say that. You may say it was an unofficial hunger strike. You know, I'm not going to say that if I did or did not miss any meals, but let's just say that, the grocery stores in my area for the past couple of weeks have been kept in business. But getting on to the point of this video, Dez Bryant signs a 5-year, $70 million contract, $45 million guaranteed today. He will be, I believe, the second or third best top paid wide receiver in the league, of course under Megatron, and then Demaryius Thomas signed a similar deal, except for he only got $43 million guaranteed. What do you think of the Cowboys finally signing Dez?
This was something that had to be done. All the Blues League, DeMarco Murray, the offseason. Dez Bryant, in my opinion, is the best receiver in the league. The way he can catch routes intermediate and go deep, and the yards after catch he has, he is just a matchup nightmare for defensive backs and safeties. And for the Cowboys, this is something they had to do because, like I said, without DeMarco Murray, he is your only big playmaker. And I believe if they did not sign Dez Bryant to a long-term deal and had him franchise tag, I think he would have gone through with his threats and set out training camp and might have missed a couple of regular season games. And I don't think this team is a playoff team if Dez Bryant doesn't play a full season.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. This was something that definitely had to be done. I wish it was something that would have been done earlier so we wouldn't have to wait to literally the last hour to be able to sign him to a long-term contract.
About
just to have
45 minutes left when it was reported.
Yeah, exactly. About 45 minutes left, just enough time, get a couple of bottles of Don Perignon and to celebrate on the plane ride back to Dallas for the Jones and Bryant.
Pretty sure Dez had something else, but that we'll set it for a later episode.
Yeah, but I do agree with you. I feel like this team without Dez Bryant is pretty much maybe a wild card at best. Because you have to understand,
that's with everything going right.
Yes, that's with everything going right. But what you have to understand with Dez is one of those players that, like what defenses say you have to account for on the field, you have to account for Dez because he's physically, there's maybe, I don't even want to say if there's maybe a cornerback that can physically match up with him because you saw what he did to Richard Sherman last year in the Seahawks game. Yeah, granted, it was a very good back and forth, but Dez was able to, push Sherman around a little, at whenever he wanted to get open. And Sherman's probably next to who I want to say. What's that dude's name that used to play with him that went to the Patriots? Browner?
Byron Maxwell.
No, the other one, Browner. That was just with the Patriots.
Yeah, Browner's pretty physical. That was the only other guy that's physical.
That's probably
Sherman.
the only other physical corner in the league I can think of that's like 6'4" and maybe 200, 210 pounds that can kind of match up with Dez. Other than that, I mean, trying to jam him at the line is pretty much trying to drive the wrong way in traffic with the blindfold on and not get in an accident. Just impossible to do. It's because he demands double teams. And we've seen last year, like if you double team Dez, Terrence Williams can make some plays in one-on-one coverage. Cole Beasley underneath, Jason Witten over the middle as a tight end. Granted, we don't have DeMarco anymore, but I honestly feel like that, the running backs we do have, if we do it by committee like we did years past when we had Julius Jones and Marion Barber, I feel like we could still have an effective ground game that people have to take account for. But getting Dez signed, I feel like was the Cowboys' number one priority in this offseason. Granted, it took them a little longer than what most of us would like for them to have him signed by, but they got the deal done, and that's pretty much all that matters in Cowboy Nation today.
You couldn't have said it better. If you're trying to win a Super Bowl, you have to have playmakers. I don't know a team that has ever won Super Bowl out absolute playmakers, and that's what Dez is. I know about the off-the-field issues and all of that, but in order to get ahead, you got to roll the dice.
Exactly. You gotta take chances sometimes. There's been countless number of players with maybe checkered past or maybe some off-field issues earlier in the career that have grown into pretty much superstars in the league. After maturing, of course, learning the NFL process, learning what to do and what not to do on and off the field, and pretty much just becoming an integral part of this team. And it's more than just Dez being the playmaker. He's also grown into a leader on the team. He's the people that
the emotional leader.
Yes, emotional leader. Like people see him ranting the Raven on the sideline. That's not him, yelling and cussing out anybody. That's him. That's just his way of trying to get his team motivated or hyped up. Whenever something goes bad, like an interception, a fumble, they give up. A long touchdown play. He's always there trying to pep up his teammates and get them ready. Like, what? That's just one play. Get it out of your mind. We'll come back next play and make up for it. That's what you need on this team. I can't think of anybody maybe besides in the past couple of years, maybe DeMarcus Ware, who was like that before he left and went to the Broncos, who has been the vocal leader. Romo, in some sense, Jason Witten is kind of one of those vocal leaders. You never really see him on camera, but word is that he is kind of like one of the vocalist leaders off the camera, and whenever like it's like practice and stuff like that. But Dez is definitely the one to get this team pepped up, to get them ready, to get them to pretty much just want to run through a brick wall to win a game, and you need that on your team, because if you just have a whole bunch of passive people, or people that just nobody really listens to or respects, then you don't really have no leadership or direction on your team.
I totally agree. There's one thing that comes about if you think that stuff doesn't matter. Ray Lewis.
Exactly.
That guy right there.
You see what
his teammates.
You see what a magical last season he had in the NFL.
Yeah, that guy got his team ready to play. That stuff matters, because football is a different sport. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of passion. It's just on a different level, and you need those guys that hold you accountable. And Dez is one of those guys. And like the team says, they do not mind him doing that because it gets them fired up. And if another player, Michael Irvin. When he played, you ask Troy and Emmitt Smith about Michael Irvin. they know who was the leader on that team. They know. They never even stutter when it comes to that. They know when it came to practice and when it came to game day, Michael Irvin was going to be ready to go.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, it is if you've been following this story for the past offseason about how the Cowboys didn't want to sign Dez to a long-term contract because of off-field issues, because of other things. If you look at it from a player's perspective, Dez won this negotiation because they actually wanted him for longer years. I believe they wanted him like a $6 or $7 million, a 7-year deal, kind of like similar to what they had to Tyron Smith. But Dez pretty much got everything that he wanted and needed out of this. He got, $45 million guaranteed. I believe
nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, nobody saw that coming. I believe the word was he actually, like, the day he signed the contract, got a $20 million check, which, if I read right, is more than double what he has made in his career up to this point. So you can imagine
they said that's almost unprecedented to get right there a $20 million check.
Exactly. So you can imagine, going to your boss and being like, hey, I want to sign a long-term deal. Oh, well, here's, double what you've been making for the past 4 or 5 years in just one day. So, hopefully he took that to Texas Trust and, put that in a nice, Swiss bank account or something like that.
I hope so. Oh, man, I hope so.
But yeah, this is very good. And there's also the word about the collusion between Stephen Jones and John Elway, because the Broncos are in a similar situation. Of course, they signed Demaryius Thomas. Now, the story was that they wanted to redo the way wide receivers are getting paid, because I believe before this, I want to say Mike Wallace was the second highest paid wide receiver, and he hasn't done anything significant in the NFL in probably the past 2.5 to 3 years. Right. I don't think I remember him doing anything. Was that with the Steelers when they played the Cardinals?
Yeah, that last year with Steelers.
Yeah, this last, or was that Santonio Holmes? It was one of those two. I think it was Mike Wallace. Yeah,
his last year with the Steelers is what made him, get that big contract with the Dolphins.
Yeah, and then of course you've seen how that's been, and now he's probably a third or fourth string receiver on the Minnesota Vikings right now. But that people are saying that's one thing that Dez had as leverage is that because the thing was that if the Cowboys and Broncos didn't sign both their players before the deadline, that they were both gonna be sued for collusion, which if you've ever been sued or done anything that involves a lawyer or the word sued, that takes a lot of money and that can be dragged out for years, even decades. So that was kind of one of the leverages. And then of course the infamous tweet where Dez said, "Oh my beautiful babies, if I don't get a long-term contract by the deadline, you won't see me at training camp or start of the game." What do you think of all these different storylines we had leading up to Dez getting signed today?
Yeah, I believe that he was going to go through with that. Dez is a different type of person. People said that was just an idle tweet and empty threat. I don't believe so. They had to do that because I think it would have been a fiasco at training camp. Imagine your best player sitting down and every day the media is asking, "Where's Dez? Where's Dez? Dez watch." It would have been an absolute circus. It would have been a complete distraction for the team. Mm-hmm. And I think Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones made this happen. They blinked, and they had to blink, giving up, because it was actually reported that they were, at the first negotiations, $30,000 was the most guaranteed that Dez was going to get. Mm-hmm. So he got an extra $15,000 guaranteed, and again, Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones know they cannot let this happen, because imagine the PR disaster this becomes. After going to the playoffs last year for the first time in a few years, having a great season, and then turn around and let your best player sit out.
Yeah, sit out.
Dez has not been in trouble in a couple of years either. So they lose this PR battle if they do not sign Dez to a long-term deal.
Yeah, exactly. And also the other thing is that you lose out a lot on merchandise sales from him, endorsements, pretty much making money off of Dez. That was probably another factor that factored into that. But I do agree. This was, the Jones pretty much being like, what, we're going to bite the bullet. We're going to go ahead and trust in you. You haven't done anything wrong in the past couple of years. You're playing outstanding for us. So let's go ahead, lock down this all-star receiver. And plus, you also got to remember, Tony Romo probably has at the most 2, maybe 3, depending on how healthy he can stay, productive years in this league left. I believe he's 35 now? 34, 35 years old. I think he just turned 35. Yeah, this past spring. Yeah. So, the Cowboys, that's another thing. They're going to have to start looking for his replacement soon. We don't know what that's going to be, but you gotta strike while the iron's hot. You get Dez. They're revamping the defense. They got Greg Hardy, drafted Byron Jones, Randy Gregory. On paper, this defense is technically supposed to be better than they had in the last 2 to 3 years. They actually have a pass rusher. Orlando Scandrick proved that he can be a number 1 corner for this team. Brandon Carr semi-proved in certain situations he can be a decent.
Yeah, just put him in coverage. Just put him as deep as you can.
Yeah, exactly. He can, be a decent cornerback. So, the defense, it's not the best, but it's definitely far from the worst. That'll probably go to another team from the south of the Mason-Dixon line to the right of Texas. For all y'all geographical fans, if y'all know what state I'm talking about, then kudos to you. But I feel like I said, they had to strike while the iron was hot. They had to get Dez in, and they had to try to make another run at the Super Bowl this year. So I'm glad that they got Dez signed. Me personally, now here's what I think. Now this may be not true, off the wall. I personally feel like they've had this deal done for weeks, maybe months, and that they just dragged this out to the last hour of the sign deadline for PR purposes. Because you got to imagine, what do the Cowboys like? They like people talking about them, whether it's negative or positive, So we're here in July, weeks before training camp, and what's the biggest story? Probably going to be for the rest of the week, Dez Bryant finally getting signed. What was the biggest story leading up to this? Well, the Cowboys signed Dez Bryant. Because you know what I think? I think the Cowboys and Dez colluded were going to be like, hey, Y'all gonna give me this, I'll take that. I'll put out this little tweet a couple of days before the deadline, be like, hey, if y'all don't sign me, I'm not gonna play. What has everybody been talking about for the past couple of days? Dez Bryant potentially sitting out training camp and seasons. It's
and then all of a sudden they can all get together.
Exactly. So you telling me that what was that tweet? What we recording this on Thursday? So that was like Monday or Tuesday. So you telling me in 3 days they came from hey, sign me or I'm not coming to, oh, okay, yeah, go ahead. Take your $45 million to guaranteed 5 years. Here's a $20 million check, Dez. Go ahead. I mean, like, I don't know. That's just me personally.
Yeah.
That's just personally what I think. I think, that there's nothing wrong with that. It gives us something to talk about. This is pretty much the slow season for sports. All we pretty much got is baseball, Major League Soccer, NBA is over with, football is about to start, hockey is over with. So pretty much all we got is the main sport is just baseball. And then, of course, like WNBA and other sports. So this is pretty much a prime time for any, news coming out, whether it's, and of course, everybody knows that people love reading and seeing stuff about conflicts, whether it be about disagreements, teams not seeing eye to eye, players not seeing eye to eye with teams. Like, people just love eating that stuff up. So that's personally what I think. This is a plan hatched by the Joneses and Bryant to be like, hey, let's try to milk this for as much, viewership, whatever as possible until we can finally get a deal done at the deadline.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. I honestly would not. It's that one thing that Jerry Jones and Dez Bryant share and have in common is they love publicity and attention. And this thing, as you saw, they have the pictures they're tweeting now. Charlotte Jones throwing up the X with him, and they're all happy and stuff. It's amazing to just think about that. If you know business, as we have been, behind the scenes to see, it is not easy. If you really are at odds, it takes time to just get that deal done. So we've definitely done on that level, but it's like you said, in 3 days you could come from throwing threats out and I'm not going to play you know what? We'll go high on that deal. Even though a year ago we were we're going to do it, but now here we are at the deadline. I'm going to go $45 million. $20 million right up front. Here it is. That's hard to believe. That's hard to believe without them having the framework already there.
Exactly. So, like I said, I'm happy that the deal got done. I'm happy that now us as Cowboys fans can focus on this season, making sure that we can replicate or improve on what we did last season and try to go ahead and get a Super Bowl. I predict big things for the Cowboys coming this season. I already have them probably winning the division. Maybe it depends on how Philly is, because like Philly has pieces, but I don't think they have like a team vision. Like Chip Kelly, you in a sense have technically 3 starting running backs on your team: DeMarco Murray, Ryan Matthews, and Darren Sproles. So I don't know what he's going to do with that, but like I said, let's all rejoice. Dez Bryant has finally been signed to a long-term deal for the Cowboys. You have any closing statements before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'd like to give a little kudos to, Jerry Jones for not taking the route like Mark Cuban of standing outside of Dez Bryant's house trying to get in, like Mark Cuban did with DeAndre Jordan. So, Jerry Jones, kudos to you, because I'm pretty sure Dez being from DeSoto, that wouldn't have ended very nicely.
Yeah, you know what? If Mark Cuban was a real one, he would just kicked in DeAndre's door. But he gotta, be all nice.
I don't know. With that kind of haircut that DeAndre Jordan got, I mean, he being from Houston, I don't know if that would have ended well for Mark Cuban either.
Yes, so. Well, I mean, if you guess so. Yeah.
I'm just throwing out a little knowledge dart. That's all.
Yeah, that's true. The more you know, knowledge is power. All this stuff. Read
books,
that's right.
Kids.
We
Shout out to Ben Furry.
Exactly. We promote reading here on Unrivaled Multimedia, whether it's books, magazines, the internet, just signs while you're driving on the freeway. Just read something. Make sure, you're not dyslexic. Anyway, on that note, we're going to get out of here. Yeah, see, cosign. Look at that. On that note, we're gonna get out of here. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Unrivaled Multimedia. Follow us on Twitter. All of our links will be down below in the description of this video. And finally, before we get out of here, to all you Cowboy haters or people who don't like Dez, who says, oh, he got paid too much, like, oh, he should have sat out. Just remember, Dez is just a young man here from DeSoto, Texas, whose lifelong dream has been to play football. Now he's a Dallas Cowboy. So whenever he goes to sleep tonight, I'm probably sure he has 45 million reasons to throw up the X at all of y'all. Y'all take it easy. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.